Well, you're back. So we're doing this trope that most reviewers do, where I'm talking to you like you're an actual being and that I've had some history with you to somewhat metaphorically bring home a point that I'm trying to make about how nostalgia shouldn't always be the driving force for how you currently feel about things, and you should be able to accept the fact that something you once loved in childhood is actually way more flawed than you're trying to make it not seem like, and you're just gonna have to accept the fact that some things in life just don't hold up over time, and you have to live with the simple fact that life is short and should not be wasted being ignorant about insufficient things like video game opinions. Well, fuck you, I'm not doing that opener for the review. Wait, I literally just did. Shit! Oh boy, this will be interesting to revisit. Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex, the first mainline Crash game not to be developed by Naughty Dog. A game hated by most but liked by some, Wrath of Cortex has had a very lukewarm reaction from most of the gaming community over the past 18 years. Guess before I talk about how this game was an underwhelming sequel to Crash Bandicoot Warped, let's take a look at the history of this game. After Naughty Dog did 3 platformers and 1 racing game for Crash, Crash Team Racing, a game I'll review later but not now or soon, please stop asking, Naughty Dog decided to let go of Crash and let Universal have other companies make new Crash games instead. A decision that one Naughty Dog employee would describe as, "It's like watching your daughter do porn." The first game out of this third-party Crash deal ended up being Crash Bash, a, from what I hear, mediocre Mario Party ripoff. Even just looking at footage of the game, I'd rather be playing Sonic Shuffle. At least that game was co-developed by the people who made Mario Party in the first place. Since Crash Bash didn't work out too well, development was started on a brand new mainline Crash game, which was codenamed Crash Bandicoot Worlds. The initial pitch for Worlds involved the game being more open-ended, a free-roaming game basically. A somewhat interesting idea to take the direction of the 4th game in the series. The pitch was provided by the people at Traveler's Tales, who are easily recognizable today for their multiple LEGO video games, but back then all they were really known for were Toy Story 1 on Genesis, Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic R, and not to mention Rascal on PS1. Oh dear god, this doesn't sound good. So in other words, this was probably not the right studio to make a sequel to Crash 3. Despite an, at the time, not as experienced gaming company making this new game, this free-roaming open-world pitch did seem promising for a Crash game to go down. Unfortunately, this pitch was rejected by Universal Interactive Studios, the owner of Crash Bandicoot at the time. Universal was afraid that changing the gameplay style to open-world after Crash Warped would have been a disastrous idea, since this was the first mainline Crash game to not be made by Naughty Dog, and they didn't want to take any chances. That sounds really frustrating, and I think if they just gave them the resources and time to make this open-ended Crash game, it probably would have been pretty decent. So whatever, this pitch got scrapped altogether and Traveler's Tales started working on a new Crash game that was based more off Crash Bandicoot Warped. Development began around mid-2000, between June and August. Stuff seemed to be going smoothly until September when a deal was made to get this game out on all platforms in the fall of 2001, meaning that they had only 12 months to get this game finished. Since Traveler's Tales was acting on a deadline and probably still trying to grasp the new PS2 hardware, they were able to negotiate getting at least the PS2 version released in fall of 2001, then delaying the Xbox and GameCube games to be worked on after production had wrapped on the PS2 version. So did that deadline work out, Universal? Oh, it got the critical reception of meh, and almost the entire Crash fanbase detests this game for ruining the franchise. At least it sold decently, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten to Insanity, which actually suffered a bit more in its development, but I'll get to that in the next episode. I mentioned this in the previous episode, but I actually grew up playing Crash Wrath of Cortex. My cousins had the game on PS2, and we played it constantly. I'm not sure if we had a memory card though, because that first level is etched into my brain for the rest of time, I swear to god. That's how often we tried playing through this game. I remember them and my sisters having fun playing it. I rarely got to play it myself. I just watched most of the time. Hogging bastards. You're too young to play. Well, fuck off. I have my own copy now, so ha! Whenever I did play, I kinda just died a lot, so yeah, maybe it was best that I didn't play the game as much. So I do have memories with this game that are kinda positive. I didn't play it 24/7, and I am fully aware that there are people out there who grew up with this game and still like it to this day, which is totally fine. With that said, if you do like this game but you don't like hearing other people bash it, you should probably click off the video right now. I'm going to be reviewing the later released Xbox version, which had a few graphical upgrades and even reduced loading screens. So I would probably recommend the Xbox version if you're going to bother getting this game. It's even on the Xbox Game Store on the 360 if you want to get it digitally. But of the 3 versions of this game, definitely avoid the GameCube version. It plays like garbage, the frame rate is beyond unstable, and the graphics and music are both the worst out of the 3 ports. With all that said, let's experience the Wrath of Cortex. Well, it starts out with the Crash Warped main theme at the title screen. Now it's all synthesized and redone. That's a good sign so far. The plot starts out with Uka Uka scolding Cortex and company for failing to defeat Crash & Co. and oh dear god, they all look awful. I'm sorry, but graphically this game just looks unfinished. Everyone here just looks like they weren't finished rendering completely. They all look so stock and generic, and I don't like it. Anyways, in this near 10-minute opening cutscene, Uka Uka is free, no it can't be, and Aku Aku immediately goes to see what he's up to. It turns out Uka Uka has released the 4 elementals, the main villains who are responsible for all the natural disasters on Earth. Not only that, the 4 of them are all voiced by major celebrities, which was not a good idea. I can understand casting Mark Hamill as Pyro, the fire elemental, since Mark actually has amazing range as a voice actor, but in this game, as you know who pointed out, he straight up just sounds like the Joker, but with his crazy turned up to max.
Is it safe to be wearing that fur? It looks flammable!
Then there's Rocco, the Earth Elemental, who's voiced by Thomas F. Wilson, and this wasn't a good choice because every time you hear him talk, you just think of Biff from Back to the Future.
What are you looking at, fuzzhead?
What are you looking at, butthead?
It doesn't work! It just breaks the immersion. Speaking of which, here's the Water Elemental, Wawa. That's his actual name. And he's voiced by the late Arlie Ermy. But why? Why him? No disrespect to the man and may he rest in peace, but why did they cast him in this role? You're not gonna hear a character, you're just gonna hear Arlie Ermy doing his drill sergeant routine.
I'll fix that attitude problem of yours!
Who's the slimy little communist shit twinkle-toed cocksucker down here who just signed his own death warrant?
Again, it doesn't work. The only mask that kind of works is Lolo, the air elemental, who's actually voiced by the man who's doing Crash's voice now, Jess Harnell. Unfortunately, Lolo is the most forgettable and bland mask out of the 4, but at least he doesn't sound like a pop culture character from elsewhere. Even then, the only reason you remember Lolo is because, oh shit, that was Jess Harnell. These villains suck. I don't mean to harp on this. I know I'm going on a voice actor rant again. What else is new to this channel? But this has legitimately been bothering me for over a decade. Even as a child, I thought about stuff like, why does Wawa sound like Sarge from Toy Story? Okay, so yeah, moving on. Aku Aku sees the elementals were free and has a pretty unfazed reaction to them, as Caddy perfectly put it.
No, not the elementals. Uka Uka, why did you release them?
Wow, he sounds terrified. So Aku Aku escapes and tells Coco and Crash what's going on. Then the 3 of them head off to their adventure to stop the elementals. Yeah, the cutscene's too long and boring, let's get to the gameplay already. Alright, here we- oh, for fuck's sakes.
This is the creature who keeps sabotaging your master plan?
Who the hell is this? Apparently this is Crunch Bandicoot, a new experiment by Dr. Neo Cortex, who's pretty much the main baddie in this game. Like how Kadikarus brought up in his review, I kinda like the concept of how Crunch is basically the Bandicoot that Crash was meant to be, so it's like you're battling your opposite self. I'm sure that would have been more fleshed out if the game wasn't rushed, but what we have now, just like the graphics, it's lukewarm. Crash and Crunch barely share any screen time together in cutscenes, and nothing really happens between them. Crunch is just sorta there. Also, he's being voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, and he's using the same voice as Captain Gontu from Lilo and Stitch the series, so I just can't unhear that. I know Caddy pointed this out already, but it was bothering me too, okay? Moving away from the story, let's focus on the gameplay. The controls in this game are serviceable. Crash controls pretty decently, though a bit floaty. He doesn't have a whole lot weighing him down, unlike the hard physics of the PS1 games. Again, the controls are still decent, they just require a little adjusting. Crash still has his iconic spin attack, his body slam, and even his super jump. Unfortunately, all the moves you learned in Crash Warped are not available when you start the game. In a kinda lazy design choice, all the moves from Crash Warped have to be unlocked. again. I mean, I'm not asking for newer movesets, but why not give us all the moves at the beginning, then design levels based around these moves? I feel this would have made the game way more interesting to play. The only new move you get is a tiptoe move for tiptoeing on nitro crates, something you only do about 2 times. What a great power-up. Maybe they were going to give the players the moves at the beginning initially, but when Traveler's Tales got the 12-month deadline, they must have realized, God damn it, we don't have enough time to make a better game. That's honestly what this whole game sort of feels like a rushed opportunity. Why were both Traveler's Tales' Crash games given the short end of the stick? When it comes to the actual levels, they're just plain. There's nothing about these levels that help them stick out. It's your standard Crash Bandicoot levels, and that's about it. The standard platforming levels are just fine. We have a few chase sequences brought back that are pretty nerve-wrackingly fun to play, but they just sort of come and go, into one ear and out of the next. Playing this game again really just reminds me of why I never really go back to play it. It's boring. It's a complete waste of time. It's an empty shell of its predecessors. I honestly don't know what else to say about this game. We can talk about the level gimmicks, I guess? One of the first ones you encounter are these ball rolling levels. Now, I love physics games a lot. They can be a blast to play, and these type of levels are fine. The ball controls well, and I like how the controller keeps vibrating the longer you move, but I don't think they're anything amazing. These are the main locations where you find the villains from Crash Warped being used. Kind of sad they don't have bigger roles in this game, and they're just used as level obstacles. Quite a shame. I hear a lot of people say that these levels were the best part of the game to them. Okay. I'm glad you guys find some enjoyment out of this. At least it's a new gimmick for Crash. Though some of the later ball rolling levels can piss right off. The next gimmicky levels are the underwater ones. These are not fun. Graphically, they look kinda cool. I like the ripple effects and stuff like that. But these levels are so boring. They also take forever to complete. A lot of levels are already longer than necessary, but the swimming levels feel like they can last for hours. What makes these levels even worse is the submarine. Yeah, they tried incorporating a new vehicle, and it just doesn't work because it's not fun. You can shoot missiles and drop mines, which usually work for killing enemies, unless a box or even a Wumpa fruit gets in the way. Yes, you can shoot the Wumpa fruit. Why? That's such a stupid and pointless detail. Does anyone like these submarine levels? Moving slowly with a massive hitbox that can get you killed easily? It's crap. I never look forward to playing these levels. Then there's the damn plane levels. Why? Why did they bring these back? These levels are boring and they're not fun to play. And they all have the same problem as in Warped, where the enemy AI can land easy hits on you, just eating away at your health. Why? Next thing you're gonna tell me is they brought back the jetpack. No! No! Bad game! Bad game! Why are you doing this to me? These jetpack levels are just as bad as the ones in Crash 2. Maybe even worse, only lessened by the fact that halfway through level 15, the game just ditches the jetpack altogether and becomes a regular factory level. I mean, that's kinda better, but the jetpack still controls horrible. Also, this isn't the game's fault, but I can't really take the factory levels seriously after watching a certain playthrough.
Play us a Kickstarter music. Hi, we're the Barry Brothers, and we have invented seven.
Come on.
I can do it. I just need to.
A lot of mechanics from the previous games are just made worse here, specifically climbing ceilings. Remember how smooth and fast it was in the previous games? Well, check this out. Wow, just look at how fast Crash is moving here. I don't understand why the climbing was made so slow. Was it an oversight from Rush Development, or was it a deliberate choice by the game designers? If it's the latter, then damn, this was a bad idea. Even getting 3 Aku Aku masks doesn't speed you up. Why? This game is just a never-ending series of me asking why. Coco? Oh, she's playable here. Like, actually playable. All she can do is spin and has a pretty useless kick move, but at least she's fully playable here. I guess that would be considered an improvement over Warped, but just over technicality. Her levels are still standard and kinda dull. I like the tsunami chase in that one level, but that's really all I can remember from her levels. I mean, hey, for Coco fans, I'm sure they enjoy playing her levels just fine. Just a shame her character model looks like a blow-up doll. Okay, if you couldn't tell, I don't really like how plain the graphics are. What's sad is that I'm using the original Xbox version, which has faster loading screens and added graphical details over the PS2 and especially the GameCube versions. Crash, Coco, and Crunch all have fur details and some levels benefit from the slightly higher graphical upgrade, but it's not by much. If anything, the way the Wumpa Fruit looks, it feels satisfying picking them up. So I'll give the game that. Apart from this game just looks like it didn't get properly rendered all the way. And it probably wasn't since the development was rushed. This game can look downright ugly when it doesn't look average. The music is a little better. It's very synth heavy, and I enjoy most of the soundtrack. Some level tunes are better than others, but the first few levels have some pretty decent themes. My favorite track is probably the one in the factory levels. I love how intense and kinda epic it sounds. One theme I actually hate is Aku Aku's theme. Why? Because it's just a boring synth track. Where are the drum beats from the original games? Come on, man. This game can't let me enjoy anything. Speaking of which, I don't like the metal suit. It's bulky and not really fun to use. But I get the assumption that they really wanted people to love this thing since Crash is wearing it on the cover of the game. But I really don't have fun using it. There is another vehicle in the form of a bouncy Jeep. It controls alright. I'm not too big on the chasing level it's put in, but the level where you use it for racing other Crash enemies was okay. Are the boss fights any good? No. In a really terrible idea, Crunch was made to be every single boss fight, since he's powered by the elemental masks. The idea is interesting, but these boss fights just stink. When they're not super easy, they're just annoying and boring. Yeah, these bosses are pretty boring too. This game has no heart. The final boss is okay. I like how the elementals are slightly used here for level obstacles, and shooting Crunch is fun. So what happens when you beat the game?
Cortex! You realize that Crash may have collected all the crystals, but he doesn't have the gems. With the gems, we can resurrect the masks one last time and destroy that Bandicoot once and for all.
Oh, piss off! I'm just gonna cheat to get to the good ending. Wanna get everything from the start of the game? Just put Wombat as your name in the new save file. Then bam, you've unlocked a 106% save file. Yeah, this Wombat cheat was apparently added to the Xbox and GameCube versions. The PS2 version apparently doesn't have it. Weird. Oh yeah, when you beat the game, you gain access to these bonus levels above the hub area. They're okay. They exist, I guess. The first level is a nightlight level, which I find really odd that they brought back because didn't everyone hate these levels in the original trilogy? At least the light stays with you in the entire level, so I guess Wrath of Cortex objectively has the best nightlight level, but that really isn't saying much. Okay, so what happens in the good ending? Cortex's base explodes, and Crunch escapes with Crash and Coco, thus becoming part of their Bandicoot family with Aku Aku. Cool. Also, I don't feel bad for spoiling the good ending for this game. Why? Well, maybe because it's spoiled on the back of the fucking game. Whoops. Oh yeah, Uka Uka and Cortex get stuck on an ice area, to which Uka Uka chases him down on an iceberg. I guess I should also mention that this is still Clancy Brown voicing both characters in this game, and this would end up being the last time he voiced the characters in a mainline Crash game. The last game he voiced Cortex in was Nitro Kart. Anyways, Wrath of Cortex's ending is pretty humorous, but I just wish the game looked better graphically. Also, am I the only one who hears a bit of Mr. Krabs slip out of Cortex and Uka Uka here?
You've landed us in the middle of nowhere! No, wait! I can explain! Ah!
What the fuck are these end credits? Okay. I guess that was the Wrath of Cortex? What else is there to mention? Oh wait, the relics! The relics are an idea introduced in Crash Warped, which are re-implemented in Wrath of Cortex. They're pretty much the time trial mode where you have to beat the level in record time to gain a specifically colored relic, Platinum being the highest one. I didn't bring these up whenever I reviewed Warped because I completely forgot about them. I never 100%ed a Crash game before, besides the first game on the Insane trilogy, so I guess I just forgot the relics even existed and are required in order to get the game 100% complete. So, yeah, I didn't record much footage of the relic runs. Try them in this game if you really like them in Warped, I guess. Also, why does Crash's dashing animation look so fucking stupid here? Look at him. Anyways, Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex is not awful, but it's also not very good. It's a plain looking run-of-the-mill Crash Bandicoot game that feels more like a step backwards than a proper follow-up to the original trilogy. Who knows, maybe if this game was a free-roaming game that Traveler's Tales wanted to make, it could have been great. Maybe we could have gotten a fun, memorable PS2 Crash Bandicoot game, rather than this boring and complete waste of time. It's a waste of time to play, and it was also a waste of time for the developers to make. They should have been given a better schedule, but Universal really dropped the ball for this game. Wrath of Cortex is a game I have zero interest in playing ever again, except maybe for lulz whenever I show it to my friends. This is the first ever Crash game that I honestly don't recommend. But if you are gonna play it, get the Xbox version. It's an Xbox classic on the 360, so I guess get it there if you want to. I don't think you should waste your money on this though. Guess we could thank Universal for giving us a lukewarm Crash game that's also kinda single-handedly responsible for another Crash game never being able to sell millions of copies, because this game was so mediocre. Perhaps Universal learned from their mistakes and let Traveler's Tales make a game with a proper development schedule. We all know that's bullshit. Well, find out in the next episode as I look at Traveler's Tales' second Crash game, Crash Twinsanity. Maybe it's a hidden gem, or maybe it's just okay. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Also, if I made any of you upset for hating a game that you like, you probably should have read the title. Thanks for watching.
Yay! Ow, my finger!
Hi, I'm Ronald McForronald. I'm gonna sell you the best night of your life! Take my wife, please!